They said, "You've revolutionized our company. Every single customer that we show up to says, 'Hey, I spoke to your office person, Michelle, and she really told me how excited it is. You guys are both arborists. You're both this. You do this together.'" And I would tell stories. I was a storyteller. And I
I
think
love
that a really
that.
good CSR should be able to tell a story about that service provider so that when that front door opens or that garage door opens or whatever door opens, that customer and you should feel like you have some sort of commonality.
Craft Your Life is a radio show for the tenacious, the bold, and those who refuse to settle for mediocrity. We bring together visionaries, game changers, and relentless go-getters who are crafting their lives, businesses, and relations in pursuit of excellence. If you are ready to shatter limits, embrace the amazing, and live life on your own terms, this show is for you. Each episode delivers actionable insights, inspiring stories, and unfiltered conversations that will ignite your drive to win a life worth dying for. Tune in and get ready to live viciously.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Craft Your Life radio show. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn. Today on the Craft Your Life radio show, we're sitting down with a true operator and builder, Michelle Myers. Michelle's the founder of and CEO of Pink Collars, the first ever certified Service Titan certified. I tried saying that too quick. Call center. In a company that's quietly become the backbone for some of the best run home service businesses in the country. She doesn't just staff CSRs, she builds customer service rock stars, dispatchers, office leaders who protect the brand, book the job, create trust at the first point of contact. I can vouch for that. Michelle, you've also co-founded the CSR Academy. You mentor women through Women in HVACR, refrigeration, and you still find time to lead community traditions like Christmas in the Middleburg Parade. I just learned this got voted as the best parade in the country. No small feat. That's crazy.
No small feat at all. Very exciting for us.
You and your husband run Wise Coatings of Loudon. You live the operator life, not just an advisory one. I'm excited for this conversation, Michelle. We have a lot to talk about. Thank you for joining. Will you tell the listeners where you're beaming in from?
Absolutely. I am just west of Washington, D.C. So if you land at Dulles Airport for any of our awesome events or to come visit D.C., you head west. And when you start seeing cows and horses, you'll get close to where I live. And I live out past a little town called Middleburg, Virginia in Loudoun County. Home of the data centers of our country as well. A little known fact, we have more data centers in Loudoun County than in any other county in the country.
That's amazing. So I've hung out with you for about 8 minutes now. I've got some new trivia knowledge. I'm ready for trivia night. Let's go. Michelle, where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Alaska. My parents were in the ministry. They were pastors. They started out doing youth ministry in a small island called Kodiak Island in the early 70s. And my siblings were both born in Alaska. I grew up in Anchorage and spent my entire life on the road in a Winnebago. But that is an entirely other podcast.
Sounds like it.
Long, fun story. We've all recovered. We're all good. Everybody's talking to everybody, despite the fact that we grew up in a Winnebago together. But it was a very interesting way to live and an interesting way to be exposed to the incredible country that we have.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So, okay, we'll book another conversation to talk about the Winnebago life. I spent a summer up in Tok, Alaska.
Oh, nice. Very
nice. Which is kind of a interesting area of the world.
Right on the edge of the world there in Tok.
Yeah, it was a big deal to have the two highways cross there. That was the talk of the town, I guess. Michelle, you got into home services at some point in your journey and then really honed in on customer service. Give us the kind of concise background story. Like, how did we end up here?
So 2008, 2009, I was a commercial interior designer for an architecture firm in DC. We were building beautiful buildings and doing all the things. And then the economy took a little bit of a hard left. I don't know if any of you remember that, but that was the time when 160 of my best friends and I got laid off all in one day at an architecture firm. And so I found that I needed to reboot my life. I needed to do a hard reset. And I took my young daughter to Colorado, to your neck of the woods, to Fort Collins, moved in
Hmm.
with a family member, my sister, and started over. And I was helping work in their business alongside them, but then I also was doing hustle work on the side. And before Craigslist was strange, you used to actually be able to get work there.
Okay.
And I picked up a small job for a tree service, answering the phones for them, and then turned that from 2010 to 2013 into 3 to 5 clients, depending on the seasonality, mostly lawn care, landscaping, outdoor services, working on a software platform called Arbor Gold. It was very specific to the green industry. When I
Hmm.
met my husband in 2012, he said, "Hey, this is not just a side hustle. This could be a business." And he said, "But you may want to branch out and not just be known for the green industry. That might just be too seasonally difficult." And so we rebranded to Pink Collars and started serving all of the skilled trades at that point. And so that's the journey of Pink Collars. We've been Pink Collars since 2017, but we've been in existence doing this kind of work for over a decade.
Okay. So, all right, this is going to be fun. I think our conversation, we'll talk about some customer service and leadership, and maybe even get into some of the transitional stuff that we had chatted about previously. Like, that's important, right? And I think we have a lot of listeners that are in the arena, that are leading, that are building. Um, I don't think this show attracts anybody that is interested in mediocrity and just staying the same. Um, I'm curious, Michelle, for customer service and some of the, I mean, I don't know why a person chooses to start a company like Pink Collars, outside of maybe seeing a niche, maybe having a knack for the phones or customer service. I mean, what was it for you? Is this like an extrapolation from the Winnebago days and it played in, or like why Michelle for Pink Collars?
So smart. Such a great question. Thank you for asking. Well, I felt like at that time in my life, that 2009, 2010 period when I was rebranding myself and my life and trying to find a new way, I felt that customer service was one of those things that was sort of overlooked in the
Hmm.
trades, and that it was a lot like the previous work that I had done in my previous career, building trades, looking at floor plans, understanding timing and coordination of people. And I thought that that coordination and timing really starts with that phone call, and it really does matter how that phone call is handled. In tree service, you have to actually see the tree. It's not something you can diagnose over the phone. You can't talk about what is happening in the yard. You can't know what the constraints are of that physicality of that piece of work. And so you have to go and see it. And so to be able to take really good notes and understand how to guard up the technician and make sure that they're loaded with all of the information when they show up to the door is something that's so necessary in tree work. It's super necessary in
Hmm.
all of the skilled trades, but those diagnostics sometimes can get lost with the homeowner. They think that they can go to YouTube and figure it out. They can search and they can troubleshoot, and they believe that they are experts. But at the end of the day, the expert really needs to come to the door with that solution and deliver that service. And so really what has to happen is you have to re-educate the customer, you have to set good expectations, and you have to deliver that human being to solving that problem. AI can't do
Yeah.
any of that stuff getting that person to the door. It can answer the phones and it can do a little bit of the things, the transactional part, but the humanity of that transaction is really important, and it sets the tone really for your entire business. And so I thought about that as part of a solution. And to be fair, when I thought that I could leave this little tree service where I started my business, they said, "You've revolutionized our company. Every single customer that we show up to says, 'Hey, I spoke to your office person, Michelle, and she really told me how excited it is. You guys are both arborists. You're both this. You do this together.'" And I would tell stories. I was a storyteller. And I
I
think
love
that a really
that.
good CSR should be able to tell a story about that service provider so that when that front door opens or that garage door opens or whatever door opens, that customer and you should feel like you have some sort of commonality. Um, and I really believed that designing that experience was something I would be good at. And so my husband saw that in me as well, and he's like, "You could be really good at this. You should do this for others." I also found out that at a time in my life when I needed to raise a small child, there weren't a lot of work at home opportunities that weren't heavily sales related, multi-level marketing, sell a legging or a widget or a thing of Tupperware, and that just wasn't me. I just I wasn't that kind of person. Um, and so how could I serve in a way that could utilize all my skills? And it really did boil down to customer care. And again, I think it's service related. I do believe it is the highest form of service to connect people. And that's really what customer care is.
This is so good. What are some stories that you might share? Like, on the phone, somebody calls for a tree or whatever. Like, what? Give me an example. I want to hear a story.
I mean, there's just many. There's many. I think, cats in trees, trees on cars, trees in the yard, broken garage doors. Somebody can't get their car out of the garage. I mean, there's all these things, right? No heat, no water, no electrical. And this puts a person in the most sacred space that they have in their life, their home, in
Mhm.
peril. It makes them feel like they're in peril. And
Yeah.
so all of the wild things that can happen on a phone call are all the same exact problem. I don't feel safe. Something's gone wrong and I don't know how to fix it. And I need someone else to help me. So you're building community, really. And for me, that's super fun. I love that. I love building community. I watch my dad and mom do it in the ministry. I do it in real life as this parade that we do in person happens, in real
Mhm.
life. And I think that despite the fact that we have a remotely located team and I have to fly places to see my people, they can connect with your customers, tell the right story, and connect you with that homeowner so that you can solve that problem. And
Yeah.
again, the most scary part of their life is their home. It's the most important piece of equipment, the place they live. It's their safe space. And so I think that's really fun to be able to solve that problem.
Yeah,
And
I
some
love that. I want to keep digging into the idea of storytelling because, and I'll give a little bit of context, but I think people make real connection with storytelling. Like,
100%.
and then I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, oh man, in that frame that you brought up, would you then tell stories of specific uh, technicians or arborists that you would send out?
Absolutely. I
So,
would
yeah, give me an example of that
yeah,
because
I
I think
mean,
this is really poignant.
the very first client, the reason why she needed somebody and he needed somebody to answer the phones is that he had been an arborist for many years as they were early in their marriage, and they had had children, and she wanted to be out there with him. So she would sit in the truck answering all the calls and doing all the work and, keeping the business going, and she was missing all the fun out in the field. She actually wanted to be in the field and hired me.
Hmm.
I would say that probably 80% of the people that hire pink collars are women, and that
Hmm.
is a wild stat that you probably
That's
wouldn't expect,
wild.
because what they are effectively doing is they're sitting in the front seat of their business, and they're saying, "I wanna get out there. I wanna get out there and do the fun part. This admin support part and this critical piece, I've built it to here, but now I'm ready to hand it off to someone." And so that's when we come in oftentimes, is when the business needs to scale, when the owner or owner's partner or spouse needs to move to a different seat in the business, or when they just are ready to focus on different parts of their life. I mean, before we started recording, I told you my daughter's graduating from high school. So I'm in a position of transition, right? And I think all of us as business owners go through that in our lives. We're like, man, we can grind it out for these years when they're this age, but then you need to pull back a little bit, or you need to focus on some other things. And so pink collars can be that through line where you can really enter into and out of our ecosystem and pull us in when you need us, and then say, "It's kinda quiet. We don't really need you." I was on the phone with somebody this morning and she said, I am so excited to talk to someone who's not going to hold me to an annual contract and take all my money, whether they
Yeah.
deliver or not. I was like, I know that those people are out there, but that just is lunacy to me. How can you promise that you're going to deliver something 7 or 8 months from now? You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You don't know what that CSR is going to do or that office manager. I can't guarantee what my people are going to do 8 months. It's wild. I want to earn the business and I want to build the relationship so that you feel confident every day that we're delivering what we say. Just like you do. That's how your business works. If you go in and botch a bunch of stuff, you probably won't get rehired, right?
For sure. And one thing I want to test with you as a professional in the customer service. So again, like this art of storytelling. You just shared a story about your client that
Mhm.
thought it was so refreshing to not have a contract. And in customer service, and I think this is where a distinction can be made with some of the AI tools and humans.
Sure.
And when this is 12, 18 months ago, when I first thought about AI and I saw it coming, I was like, oh yeah, AI is going to answer all the phone calls, no problem. And I went down that route. And then what I realized was actually um, humans love humans. And I think humans are always going to stay premium, right? Like there might be like the affordable, blah, blah, cheap stuff. And that's where you have to deal with AI and those customers. They'll just navigate it and be frustrated. But then the premium will stay human. But also in that, when I'm recognizing and I'm going through some education around the art of storytelling, and if I can get my CSRs trained in real authentic storytelling, and it's not the phrasing, it's not the value add like paragraph at the end. It's more real than that. It's like, look, I just want to let you know, you called because your door is stuck. Well, I just had a customer that was served by John. Now, John is a real detailed technician. He's going to go deep. He's going to geek out. You're going to be able to ask. And then that actually explains more the value add or more the value service than anything else could, because stories have a way of relating to humans in their emotion and their imagination, their creativity, all the things. Um,
100%.
and that to me, like I wrote that down as soon as you said, storyteller. And I was like, "Phew, that actually is the jam
It is.
in anything, any presentation."
In anything. I mean, if I'm ever on sales calls, which I'm not often anymore, um, I'll look at the roster of people and I'll see who has capacity to take this particular client. And I'll tell that particular lead, I'll say, Angie on our team, literally, you're going to flip out. She's so epic. She'll do this. She comes from here. She lives here. Like I tell who that person is because they need to have that connection, the, consumer and or the customer, the client, and our team. And, we really encourage our team to get on camera with you all, talk to you all. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows, but you are a client here at Pink Collars. Have you told anybody yet? Have you said that to them yet?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and for that piece, I really think the connection is so important, no matter where in the sales cycle you are, right?
Yeah. You've seen a lot of different providers, probably dropped in on different offices, seen how different things are structured. What do you think most people miss when it comes to customer care?
I think probably the most important thing they miss is the so I'm hearing something there. I'm sorry. Probably the most important thing that they miss is using the customer's name and the
Mm,
details that they align that customer, right? So I I tell my team all the time, you may live in a totally different town, but open up that town's website. Find out where the main, haunts are for that particular location. Find out what the weather is. Talk to the homeowner and say, "Hey, looks like you guys had a really great summer. How's winter faring over there?" Talk about the weather.
mhm.
Talk about things in their world. And I think that for my team is really important because we want the consumer, the homeowner, to feel like we work for that local company and we're right there in their town, right? We don't
Yeah.
fib about it. I mean, we tell them if they ask the question. But I think it's really important for us to know what's going on in your service area and to feel confident in speaking at that level to your homeowner. Um, Getting you to the door again is the biggest part of what we do, but letting them know who's coming is also really important. When my husband does the floor coatings, he talks about his one technician. And he's like, Austin is my detail guy. Like you said about your guy, he's going to geek out. He tells people Austin stories on his sales calls all the time. You can't wait till you meet Austin. He's 10 times better than me. Your floor is going to look incredible. So there's a lot of really important connecting pieces to doing that name, their name and your people's names. This is very important. I think we're all missing connection right now. So this is a
I
big one.
love that. I love that. Keep going. What other components, strategies, tips, tools do you have for building that connection? I mean, whether we're like in person, over the phone, because what we don't have over the phone necessarily is the nonverbals and but there's a lot of communication that happens in there through tone and pace and all that stuff.
I think setting expectation of what the truck or van is going to look like, talking about background checks, say, hey, you're going to have Corey's going to come and do your estimate or check your HVAC or check your door. And he's going to be fully background checked and safe. He's going to come in a branded vehicle. He's going to have a logoed piece of clothing on. He's also going to have his ID badge on. We background check every one of our team members, make sure he's got that badge on, let him into your home with safety and security in mind, and just, show him what the issues might be. And I think that's also really important. Again, a lot of people that are at home during the day are sometimes female. And so we want to make sure that we set them to ease, right? We want to ease their burden or concern about having somebody that they may not know in their home. And so
Mhm.
this is also very important, is just setting that safety expectation as well. So we like to
Mhm.
do that for our team members, for our companies that we support.
Yeah, I dig that. Why do you think a service provider would not do that?
They may not have the ability to invest in those tools. It's not cheap to do
Mhm.
full background checks. It's not cheap to do badges. It's not cheap to have a branded and beautiful branded truck or van.
Right.
It's not cheap to have great logoed and branded materials to hand to the customer when you're leaving. These things all take money. And they're very important, though. They do set you apart. They do make a difference. And I like to think of branding and marketing materials and things that you leave behind as that one-to-many connection. The one-on-one connection is you and the homeowner when you're there in their home figuring out the issue or problem. But when you leave something behind, it then becomes something they can share with a neighbor. Their spouse may come home and look at it. Their kids may identify with it and say, "Hey, I saw that van in the streets." And so that leave behind or that branding becomes very important. My husband has a branded van for his floor coatings company. And when he pulls up, people are like, hey, I recognize that. His brand is very noticeable.
Yeah.
And so I think that is really important. And I feel sorry for the guys who work so hard but don't have that recognition that needs to come with the expertise that they're bringing to the door. So if they don't have that branded story happening, they really do miss out on a lot of potential customers, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Early in the convo, you used a term re-educate when
Mm,
it came for it. And my perception was that's a customer calls in to whoever, and a great CSR is going to re-educate them right then and there.
yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, mentioning all those things I just said.
Sure.
Hey, Mrs. Jones, Paul's going to come and do your estimate this week. Paul's going to arrive in a branded logoed van. He's going to have a badge. He's going to have branded clothing. So you'll be able to easily identify him when he comes to the door. When he comes to the door, please show him to the garage issue, the HVAC issue, the plumbing issue, and so that he can diagnose that and then give you a full detailed estimate on what the solution will be. When he gives you that estimate, you can decide to accept it right then and there, and we can schedule you, or you can think about it if you need to show it to a spouse or family member. And then I will follow up with you within 2 days after that estimate is delivered, both digitally and by phone. And so again, we're just telling the customer what that pacing is going to be for the work to be done. If you're backed up, that's a really good time to tell the customer, say, hey, if you do decide to do the work, we are busy right now till X or Y. We just got our chimneys cleaned. I think it was November. And I had to cancel my appointment. And so the chimney company called back and they said, well, unfortunately, we're busy until mid-February. This is like 12 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, mid-February? I mean, I'll be done burning fires by then. So I went on basically sort of like a cancellation list. And 2 days later, they called me and said, hey, we had a cancellation. And so if you have those strategies for being really booked on your schedule, if you have an urgency list or cancellation list, let that customer know that that's an option for them if there is a problem that needs to happen in a timely manner.
Yeah.
So,
No, I love that. And what I hear, I mean, most homeowners either don't know or they have an erroneous assumption about how this all plays out. And as you mentioned, they're anxious, maybe a little fearful.
yeah.
They didn't plan on calling a service provider that morning. They didn't wake up and you're like, oh man, can't wait to call the.
Yeah. No, it never happens like planned. It's never pre-planned. It's always something that happens out of the blue.
Yeah. Yeah. I think where I go in like bottling this all up, it's just a deep level of care.
It is.
If we care about humans, we're going to talk about the process, make sure that they can hear it. We're going to communicate for response and take them along a journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
Hey everybody, this is Luke from Cooler Garage Doors. Just want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Sommer Garage Door Openers. In our opinion, Sommers are the highest quality product on the market today. We recommend them for all of our residential garage door installs because of the variety of features they include, such as Wi-Fi connectivity and safety features such as a fixed chain, which moves along a secure rail to ensure your garage door opens quietly and safely. Click on the link in the description to learn more about Sommer Garage Door Openers.
We had mentioned, kind of teased out this idea of transition. And I have an imagination that there's some listeners that are also at different chapters. You had mentioned kind of how your team is maybe nudging you out of operations, right? And what a blessing and shift. I
It
mean,
is. Massive.
it's not easy, is it?
It's not. It's not. And it's yeah, I think for every person who started a business, it's a lot of their identity, right? It's a lot of who I am and what I do. And it's takes up the bigger part of my day is my business. And so figuring out what does that look like is really important for every business owner. And I really watch people that are very good at it, that own multiple businesses or start up new adventures all the time. And I ask them about that. How does that feel? What do you do? How do you strategize? How do you use your time the best way? And so I think the biggest thing is to get great people around you. I just got back from our annual planning meeting. We did it in Dallas, Texas this year. And I flew out there to meet with our team, and everybody that was not from Dallas flew in, our general managers from that area. And so we spent 3 days huddled up talking about the business, working through some of the issues, talking about the strategy for 2026. And I will tell you, I got on that plane early Saturday morning coming home. And I felt like this company was in such good hands. Like they have it. They understand the pain points of the client, you guys, business owners. They understand the needs of the CSRs. How can they be empathetic and understanding and caring and not get burned out? How can they not get frivolous, right? Because that's a big thing that we face in customer care. And then how can they tell the story of how pink collars can help businesses? And they had it hook, line, and sinker. Ops was in line. people operations or HR was in line, and the general manager, Kayla, was in line. So they all have it. And I am telling you, I kept my slippers on almost every day because I didn't have to get up and like lead it. I didn't have to get on the TV and like change the screens. I mean, they ran this entire thing and I sat there going, what can I add? What can I share? How can I, move? And I was surprised and got on that plane and said, I think they really have it. Like, I feel really confident. It's wild. I think it's good. And it's hard, I think, for business owners to get to that place. But I think it's necessary because the minute our mind shift changes as the business owner, that's when our team really rises. And they've really risen. So it's exciting time for us.
That is super exciting. What do you do internally? Because I would imagine like letting go of the reins, there's a trust piece, and then there's the identity piece, which you mentioned. Like, I'm a doer. Like, what am I going to do now? Like, what happens internally? Like, in where I'm going with this, Michelle, is again, I have this illusion that there's actually listeners. No, there's quite a bit, but that these listeners are always in transition. I mean, that's the leadership, that's the journey, that's the game. But if I'm in, let's say, I don't know, year 3, year 5, I don't care what year it is, but I'm looking at somebody else and they have another level of freedom, or they've earned something or whatever, I can really quickly make a story and be like, oh, isn't that nice? But then there's all the reality of the glass that was eaten, and the decisions and the hard identity shifts. Like, what happens internally for you, Michelle, in this transition to be able to say, hey, team, you've got it. Like, let's go.
Let's go. Well, internally, I am a well-known and well-documented control freak. I think that comes from, it's true. And that comes from a lot of things. That comes from being a firstborn. That comes from being, growing up in the ministry and not feeling like I had a lot of control, right? So in my childhood, it was kind of like, woo, we were going everywhere. And then it comes from being a designer. A designer has to make concise decisions early and often and get it done, right? There's not a lot of waffling. You can't change your mind a lot. You got to get it done, document it, and move on. And so my whole life was set up for me to be a control freak. So I tell people that, and they just have to understand that I just see things in a very different way. I'm for sure a visionary. But I think what you have to do then is envision, what does your day look like when you're not in the day-to-day of this business? I pared back from 5 days to 3 in 2025. And so our goal is from 3 days to 1. And so that's what the goal is. I think stepping it down is actually better. It's easier on the team. They can hold any issues that they have for you. And if you think once a week is enough, maybe twice a week is better. They can hold those. We are an EOS business. And so we follow Traction, the platform. And that cadence of how we meet, when we meet, what we talk about, and how we resolve things has really sped up, I think, my exit out of the day-to-day. We're in our third, I think this is the 4th year of EOS, and it has changed our business. I recommend it for any service business as well. I think it's very beneficial. What often happens with business owners is we're either the visionary and we go out there because we see a better way, right? Or we're the integrator. We do it. We do the business. We do the job. And we say, man, this guy or gal doesn't know what they're doing, and I'm going to go do it my own way in this particular service area or market. And so whether you're a visionary or integrator, no matter what kind of style you have as a business owner, you can find your complementary person and really move the business forward. But until you find that complementary person, oftentimes in the trades, it's your spouse. If you don't have that person rubbing the sharp edges off of you in your business, you'll never get free of it. So I truly believe that EOS has been the solution for us. And having an integrator next to me has been the reason why I've been able to see that freedom happen.
Yeah, I love that. I want to just to clarify, let me test this with you, Michelle, because in order to say, look, I'm going to go from 5 days to 3 days to 1, obviously there's a slew of nuance in all of that, but I would also boil it down to simply making a clear and decisive decision.
Yes.
And once that decision is made, then it's the courage of action.
To live it. Yes.
Yeah. Because I would imagine like it wasn't, I'm sure there were some challenges along the way.
Oh, of course. Of course. And we've been caught up in indecision, right? Again, the designer in me is like, well, it can be blue and it can be purple and it can be orange and it can be yellow.
Yes.
Visionary too does that. And so the person that I rely on and the strategy that I rely on is that integrator to say, no, this is exactly what we're going to do. And it's gonna be this way. And so that, again, having that component person in your business is very important. And I ask business owners all the time, like, how do you run your company? Who's there alongside of you? Do you have that sort of second person with you? Because I do
Yeah.
believe that's the secret to scaling is having that second person.
Yeah. Any tips, insights for somebody that, I mean, out of the gate, a company doesn't have the flex or flow for
Yeah.
maybe some of that role, because that's a meaty role. But then at some point in growing, it's there, and that might just be a nuance of like, okay, here's the time. Now's the time. Actually, this is the time. But to find that person,
How do you find them?
yeah,
Well, after reading EOS and hiring an implementer, which is the person that comes to your company and kind of sets up all the tools and gets you going, we realized that we didn't have an integrator. And the person that we thought was going to be the integrator at the very beginning of implementing EOS, she chose to leave the company. And it was very jarring. I was like, oh no, this is a terrible mistake. Now I've run off the best person, right? But you find that with EOS, accountability is really the thing. It's not about the personalities per se, like how people get along. It's about who's willing to be accountable and be accountable for their role. And so EOS just shines a light on people that may not feel comfortable in that specific seat or space. And again, they're not bad people. It just shines a light on, wow, this is what I actually need to do for this seat or for this role. And they may feel some discomfort with that. And then you go back to visit them. Okay, if this doesn't work, how about here? And you try to figure out the best place for them. But it can be very scary. So when that happened for us, I got into the marketplace and found that there are fractional integrators out there that you can hire on a fractional way. And I found an incredible fractional resource, and he and I are still dear friends. And it's incredible because he came into the business. I think it was 10 hours a week to start. He ran all the high level meetings. Everybody in the team started to answer to him instead of me. And it broke that pattern of me being the person that kind of helped put out all the fires. Once I had that layer in the business and I was able to tolerate that layer, right? That human strata, then we went out to the marketplace and found a full-time integrator. And so I think that was a really nice step for me. To have somebody kind of part-time in the seat and then full-time in the seat. And that gave us the chance to get our finances ready to hire that full-time person.
Yeah.
So it's a good.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Very, very practical. That's amazing. All right, Michelle, as we put a little bow ties on this convo, how does a parade become the national parade?
Oh my goodness.
What is it about this parade that is like worth seeing?
Well, the thing that I have nothing to do with is the reason why it's so popular. I am just the boots on the ground behind, but we have one of the last remaining hunt and hound parades, which is the old English tradition, which our country was founded on, was going out on horseback with hounds in the front to go fox hunting.
All right.
And so this is one of the last areas in the country that still has that as a tradition. And Middleburg, which was named Middleburg because it was the middle point between Washington, D.C. and Winchester, which is where a lot of battles took place in our early formation of our country. They used to stop in Middleburg to rewater and refeed the horses spend the night. and then move on to the battlefield. And so this has a lot of historical significance. We have a lot of historical buildings in town. The longest running hotel in the country is right around the corner here. And so we have some really cool pieces of history that make it super important. So the horses
Yeah.
and the hounds go down first, and then we follow that a couple hours later with a community parade with all of our local schools, high schools, colleges. We have bands, we have contract companies, we have kid groups, we have dog groups, we have animal groups. We had a live nativity scene this year. So we do a lot of community stuff around this very storied hunt and hound parade.
There's the theme of the story again. That's amazing. That's amazing. Michelle, if anybody wants to reach out, get mentoring, connect with Pink Collars, connect with Michelle, how do we connect?
Absolutely. You can go to our website. It's Pink Collars, and that's PINK, and then collars like calling on the phone. We got our name. My husband actually came up with it because in the world of offices, they're white collar, right? The folks that have an office and a desk. We obviously all know blue collar, the guys that are out in the field doing their work in a different sort of way. And in the 50s and 60s, they used to call the primarily women in the office pool or typing pool pink collars. And
No, I
so
didn't
this
know
was
that.
the name that they had in our history, the supportive role that women primarily filled. That's not the case at Pink Collars. We got lots of nice guys in our lineup of service providers. But you can reach us at pinkcollars.com. And it's just Michelle, 2 L's, 2 E's at pinkcollars.com, or just go to the website. There's a contact page and it'll get to us, and we'll absolutely hang out with you anytime on Zoom or by phone.
Yeah, beautiful. I love the details there. This is not a commercial style pod, but I am a client of Pink Collars, and I've got a couple of guys and ladies, and they're awesome, and so I appreciate that. And it's amazing. Closing question for you:
Please.
what are you excited about? What's happening in 2026 that's worth talking about?
On a professional level, I'm excited to see us implement AI in a very human forward way at Pink Collars. We've been doing that for a little over a year now, and we'll be stepping it into the business even further this year, which I think is really nice. It's going to help up-level our team by taking some of those transactional calls. The customer that is just easy breezy and says, sure, you can come next week. Sure, I can take that time. Sure, I can do. So anything that can be automated that can up-level the team to those really good escalation calls or dispatch calls, that's what we want. So we're going to work on that.
Yeah.
And then personally, I have a child that will be going to college in the fall. I've already launched one, so I do have a little bit of understanding of what to expect, but this is our first daughter, so it feels a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I'm walking through the change of that in our life and in our family dynamic. We will have one daughter remaining at home, and the three of us keep going, looking at each other going, what are we going to do when she's gone? It's going to be so quiet around here. So it's been going to be interesting what our family looks like in September. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah. I hear that. We've got our oldest is going to be a senior next year, so we're still another year out, but the conversation starts, and
Oh, yeah.
my wife, it'll be our first one. She's like, I don't know.
It's a big change. Just
It's
hold her
big.
tight, keep her
It's big.
close, your wife. It's a big change.
Yeah.
We identify as women in a lot of different ways, and we've had such great freedoms in the last few decades. But mother and wife and business owner and CSR, there's a list, right? But when that whole thing with mother changes, it can be a little bit of a shift for sure. So
Yeah, I get that. Well, Michelle, I appreciate your conversation today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Look forward to the next time. And just really appreciate your storytelling.
thank you so much. It was a great time.
Please know that I am incredibly humbled and honored. I can't believe I'm saying this. We have over 2,400 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and we're just growing. It is amazing. And your likes, your subscribes, and your shares have helped us get here. So let's grow this thing together, and just know that you are appreciated.